in the good dread and get his ass kicked in the Born Supremacy, and he rocked it as Bones in the new Star Trek.
Hey guys, how are you? It's so great to be here in Philadelphia. It's such a beautiful city. Not that I've got to see much of it, but it is beautiful. I went out last night, had a fantastic meal and a walk around, and so thank you so much for having me in your city. If you don't live here, then thank you for being here anyway. How are you guys? Good? I love how we call it the good dread. We should amend the title. Well, let's go underway. Sir, how are you?
Okay, Karl, when I've seen you in the Star Trek movies and in other productions, you do such an excellent North American accent that if I knew nothing about you, I would never have guessed that you are a New Zealander. Have you worked with like one or more voice coaches to be able to do this?
Oh, thank you for your question. Yeah, you know, every time I take on a project, and particularly one that has a character that is from somewhere in North America, I work with a dialect coach, and one that I've been working with for years is Michael Buster, and he worked with me for Star Trek and for a bunch of other films, including Dread. And we get together and we'll go through the entire script, and we'll make a CD of our sessions, and then sometimes he's on set with me, but other times, depending on where it is, not. And then I will reference the work that we've done together and isolate any problems or issues. And you know, it's just like any other element in what I do. You have to devote time and energy to getting it right. And so, you know, it's important to do. Thank you for your question. Thank you.
So I was wondering if you could give an inkling of when we're getting our next Riddick movie, and when we do, what do you think Riddick's going to do to Baco when he finds out that Baco is the one that betrayed him?
That's a great question. And I have no idea, but chances are that they will make it. I mean, Vin loves, you know, the character of Riddick in the whole world, and it was a great pleasure to work with Tui again and Vin. And certainly, if they get to make another one, I'd love to be involved with it. It'd be really interesting to see what does happen. I would actually like to see some sort of uneasy alliance between the two, some whatever greater cause or reason. Maybe to get care out of the universe or something, I don't know. If she's there, I can't remember. We can get her there. So yeah, we will see. Thank you for your question.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hey, sweetheart, how are you? You were wondering what? Oh my gosh. It was amazing to work with both Mr. Leonard Nimoy and Zach Quinto. It was surreal, to tell you the truth, because, you know, obviously when I was about your age, what are you, 13? You look like so much older. When I was your age, I used to watch Star Trek with my dad, and so to be in a scene with Spock and be delivering iconic lines like the sort that the great Forrest Kelly used to, was so surreal and strange at times. And then it was just a sheer joy and pleasure to have the opportunity to not only sort of get to meet Mr. Nimoy, but also work with him a little bit, or be in scenes that he was in. And like he came in one day, in the last movie we did, there was a Skype between young Spock and old Spock. And I don't know what the track term is. a space guy. And Mr. Nimoy, he came in for that day and sat on top of a ladder or something in front of all of us on the bridge and delivered his lines, which was extraordinary. Even though they already had video footage of him, which they could have played us, he was adamant that he wanted to come in and be there for it. And it was just such a generous and gracious, warm-hearted, kind man, and super smart and lovely, dry sense of humor, and I feel very blessed to have known him. And Zach's pretty cool too. Thank you very much.
Hello. I'm Karl, thank you. One of the great things about these conventions are that as fans we have the opportunity to fanboy and fangirl or fandom out over guests and artwork and comments and things of that nature. For you, having been in a bunch of conventions and a lot of other functions, who do you fanboy out over?
Oh wow, that's a great question. Well, I'll tell you what I love. What I love about these conventions is it's just a wonderful opportunity to very rarely get together and celebrate elements of pop culture that we're all collectively into. And certainly there's many things that I really enjoy from science fiction stuff, whether it's Star Wars, Star Trek, or great shows like Doctor Who. I met David Tennant today. I was annoyed because I was just starting to have a conversation and someone else came up and interrupted and started to have a conversation and I'm like, wait. Anyway, I think he's extraordinary. I really did. I mean, I love what Matt Smith did. I mean, he was also very brilliant. But to me, I love David Tennant because I think he really benefited. I mean, obviously, an extraordinary, gifted actor, but he also benefited from the wonderful writing of Russell T Davies. And I think it was a particularly special and unique time for Doctor Who, and I greatly enjoy seeing and watching with my boys. And I have just great admiration, respect for all that sort of stuff. And then it's just a wonderful opportunity for me to meet fans. It's like, when you do theatre, you get a pretty immediate idea of, whether something that you've done is appreciated or not, or a joke is funny. And it's not often until, you get into a situation like this, we get an opportunity to meet people, that you get feedback if you're working in the mediums of film and television. So I really enjoy it, and I enjoy the fun, festive spirit of people dressing up and expressing themselves, and it's just so cool. I like going around the streets before and after, and you're walking down at night, and you see some guy walking down the road with a lightsaber. It's kind of cool and surreal, and it's just great that for these couple of days that you guys get to essentially do what we do. Yeah, thank you for the question.
Thank you.
Hi. Hey, you can look it up.
So I'm a big fan of IMAX movies that use IMAX cameras, and I know Paul heard that you were in 2 scenes in the Star Wars that use IMAX cameras, but from what I understand, they're a huge pain in the set, and I guess I was wondering was it exciting before to just make things hard to work with, like selling a chainsaw or something?
Yeah, when you're working with when you're working with an IMAX camera, it is loud. There's a constant buzz that comes out of the camera, and the amount of film that it actually can hold or something is limited. So there's only a limited amount of time. I think it's like 60 seconds or something like that. I could be wrong on that, but from what I recollect, that was the case. But apart from that, there's no real great difference, it's obviously lends a unique quality to the film, and I'm a big fan of the negative on it is extraordinary and just captures so much detail, and I feel pretty blessed to work with directors like with J.J. Abrams, who insists on still using film. Not that I have anything against the technology of digital. It's really come a long way. In fact, I just shot the film on digital. It's a Disney movie called, it's a remake called Pete's Dragon. It was a lot of fun, but you can definitely, the DP would go to extraordinary lengths to replicate the look of film. Whether it's adding in more atmos, which is like a smoke that they add in to the air, just to sort of, I guess, take down sort of some of the harsher qualities of digital. Yeah, so I certainly hope film never goes away. I think it's pretty special. Thank you. Beautiful.
Your dread voice, it was really deep and really gravelly. What do you have to say about any criticisms that it was borrowed from the Batman movies around the time?
Oh, that's an interesting question. I never heard that before, but I could see how some people could come to that conclusion. What I did is I based my research on reading the comics, and in the graphic novel, I remember there was one particular panel that described Dredd's voice, and it said that his voice sounded like a saw cutting through bone. So I went to the local butcher. So the voice that I did in the movie was, some sort of my approximation of what that was. And unlike, from what I believe, Christian Bale's awesome Batman, his voice, when he did Batman, they actually did something to it in the computer, I think, to lower it, or to put some effect on it, whereas in Dredd we didn't.
It was just achieved by putting your mouth extraordinarily close. And drinking a lot of whiskey.
Or Gatorade. As may be. 9 and 10-year-olds in the audience. Thank you very much, Chris.
Karl, pleasure to meet you.
Pleasure to meet you.
My question is regarding Almost Human. It's a shame that they did that Foxtail. What did you think? How do you think that show was coming along as far as it got? Where do you think you would have liked to see the show and your character go if it had made a full season and continue on in future seasons?
Well, that's a great question. Thank you very much. Firstly, I'm extraordinarily proud of that show. It was amazing to work on, and particularly working with Michael Healy and the fantastic cast and crew on that. I mean, they just really were marvelous to work on, and it was a hard show to work on. We were shooting 6-day weeks, sometimes up to 17 hours a day, and it was tough going in the end. I know a few details about ideas that were kind of planned, particularly in terms of exploring what's on the other side of the wall, which I thought was really, really interesting. So the idea that there's this aspect of the city behind the wall that is this sort of hidden dystopian kind of world, and that John Dorian would have to go over there to look for the maker. And in the course of doing so, what they would discover is that in this secret, mysterious other side of the wall, that there was an even more secret, deeper and darker place within that. And it would continue like a maze. And through the season, you would get to explore the different sort of areas of that. So sadly, obviously, it's not to be, but I was ultimately grateful for the experience, and I feel so so proud of the show, and really appreciate all the fan support that it's received, and always sad that it was cancelled. Obviously, it was a show of that nature is an expensive show to make. I think that was part of the issue. The show was made by another studio, it was made by Warner Brothers, yet distributed and shown by Fox. And you know, I think that studios have a tendency to perhaps support and promote their own product before they will support a product from, you know, somebody else. Anyway, you know, on positive note, it leaves me free to do more cool stuff on Star Trek. So. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Hey, good to meet you.
I was just curious if there was any character from a book or movie that you would like to attempt if there was a new adaptation.
Wow, that's a great question. Yeah, I never really know until until I read a piece of material. I really wanted to play Rob Hall, who's a Kiwi mountaineer who died on Everest during the fateful '96 season. Because to me, it's like those men and women who really kind of give themselves in an altruistic fashion for others really inspire me. The classic examples of firefighters and the first responders on 9/11. Those guys are heroes to me. You know, guys who are rushing into the building and all else, rushing up. So, you know, and in terms of, you know, when I think about, you know, playing a character like Dredd, I think about those guys because they're cut from the same cloth. And yeah, so yeah, that's your question. Hey, how are you?
Out of all the characters you played, which is your favorite?
Out of all the characters I played, which is my favorite? That's a great question. Really hard. It's like it would be like asking, you know, a parent which is their favorite child. But for me, I guess I really liked. I like different aspects about different characters, but I love working with Born Supremacy. You know, the character was skeletal on the page, and yet, you know, it was such an amazing shoot and such a great film. Obviously, Dredd is also very close to me. My collaboration with Alex Garland is something that I hold very, very dear, and I'm so glad to see that his new film, which you should really check out, Ex Machina, is doing so well. Yeah, you guys should check that out. And I would love the opportunity to work with him again. Yeah, we all know, obviously, Star Trek is, you know, playing Dr. McCoy is such an iconic character, and particularly in the first movie, the writing was so fantastic. Yeah, so there's a kind of, you know, there's a small New Zealand film, it's Lord of the... Thank you very much. Hi, how are you?
Just wanted to ask, of all the movies and roles that you have performed for your career, which one was the most consuming, both physically and emotionally, and why?
Well, that's a fantastic question. Thank you for that. Most consuming physically and mentally? Probably Almost Human, because of the attrition of it, the sheer trench warfare nature of when you're shooting 6 days a week. You think about that, 17 hours a day. There is no time in your life for anything else. On that one day that you have off, it's very difficult to get out of bed. You're exhausted. You know, quite often on your, they call it a Friday, which is a Friday, Saturday, because you work till like 3 or 4 in the morning. So you literally, on your one day off, you're really kind of entrenched in the script for what you're going to shoot the next day. It's just not enough time to recuperate. So that was probably, you know, most physically challenging, just in terms of the duration of it, and you know, sort of making sure that, I mean, the wonderful thing about that show is that it was a very collaborative show, and Michael and I were afforded the opportunity and the luxury of actually being able to improvise a lot. like a lot of stuff that we saw in the car. We would do one that's on the page, and then we would like riff and improvise, and the producers, to their credit, you know, gave us that freedom, and I'm so kind of appreciative of that, because it's such a rarity from what I understand. So, I mean, the whole thing about Dorian scanning Kinex's junk. Suddenly feel little came from an improvisation, and when the producers down in LA saw it, they loved it so much they actually got us to reshoot, or they actually sent us a new script to add sort of stuff around it to, you know, really make it float and fly, which they did. So. It's not them. Thank you, Christian.
Thank you for your work.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I just have a question. What was it like working with Vin Diesel in the Ring Skills?
Oh, Vin's a great guy, and if you have the opportunity to meet him or work with him, you're very, very fortunate indeed. He's one of these guys who is very collaborative. He has a wonderful kind of street sense about character, and he was very generous with his time and energy, and very generous with offering advice to anyone who, you know, who was open to it. If he liked you, then he would, you know, he would share stuff with you about how to improve your career, or how to improve your work, or, you know, he would talk to you about your character. It wasn't just someone who was interested in his character, making himself look better, often at the expense of others, and he wanted you to shine, and that's a rarity, because I've worked with some big stars who want the exact opposite, and will actually, you know, go to extraordinary lengths to sabotage your work. But he was completely the opposite, and I would really love the opportunity to work with him again. He's a really great guy.
And another quick request.
Sure.
Could you say I am the law?
I am the law.
High five. All right.
You can pull it down. It does move.
All right, it's great to meet you, by the way.
Thank you, great to meet you.
I was curious, what did you think about the 2013 Drag reboot on being such a surprise hit?
Well, thank you very much. Well, I really appreciate your opinion on that. It wasn't as much of a surprise hit as we had hoped. Unfortunately, it wasn't quite marketed the way that it was for the theatrical release, and consequently there was just a fundamental lack of awareness about it. But the marvelous thing is that it was kind of really discovered on DVD by a lot of people. It sold something like 750,000 units within the first week, which is huge numbers. And a lot more people, I think, have then come to discover it on video on demand and other streams. So, you know, there's a reluctance from the producers that hold the rights to Dread to make another one, because, you know, theatrically it didn't do what it really should have, and a few of the, you know, the international territories got burned. That being said, I think that the popularity that is achieved on DVD and all the other mediums warrants a sequel. I mean, they make sequels to some crap movies. And I know that there are a couple of organizations that are vying to get the rights to it and that want to make it. So I'm pretty confident that at some point in the future, one of them is going to be successful in getting the rights. And from that point there, it's just a matter of time putting it together. You know, if in my wish list, I would love for Alex Garland to direct it and write it. I don't know if that's even possible, but his vision of Dredd was so solid and unifying and precise that you know, he'd be a great asset to any sequel that we've had. But if not, you know, if it doesn't happen, then I'm just grateful to have been a part of it. And as a standalone film, I think that it sort of holds its own, and it will for time, because you know, not only is it, I think, holds up on a character level, but then also kind of visually, you know, what they did with that film was extraordinary. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for the feedback.
So I first saw you in Xena, and I was watching it, and I realized that I think you played 4 different characters in the entire run of the show, 2 of which are recurring. So how did that happen that you just kind of kept coming back as different characters?
He's counting.
I remember 3.
So Caesar and Cupid,
Right.
and Core.
Oh,
Yeah.
right, yeah. But he was in the spin-off Amazon. Oh, but right, okay, I'm with you now. We shot the core stuff was actually shot for a pilot called Amazon High, which never happened, but then it got incorporated, so they incorporated the footage into an episode of Xena. So you're right. Sorry, what was the question?
And you just kind of kept getting hired back in different roles within the same series.
Yes. Yes, actually, I auditioned for years, or a year or so to get on it, and I finally landed the role of Mayel, I think it was. And then they, if my memory serves me right, on the back of that, they offered me Cupid. And so I went to the gym. Did a lot of things, and I guess that sort of the experience of collaboration between, you know, Pacific Renaissance and myself worked really well on that. And Rod Tapper came up to me and goes, "Hey Karl," he's the producer on it, and came up and said, "Hey Karl, you know, I'm going to be directing this episode coming up of Xena, and I'd love you to be a part of it. The character's called Caesar." And so he asked me if I would mind auditioning for it. Absolutely. So I did, and I was walking around my Cupid outfit one day looking for a bathroom. This was an issue because they didn't actually build a fly into my costume.
Oh.
And I had these wings glued onto my back. So you had to find the right kind of bathroom that you can fit through the door. And I bumped into him, and he told me that he goes, "Yeah, Karl, great, you got the part." So I was like, "Awesome." And so that's how it kind of happened. And I also think I remember, I knew that when I played Cupid that it was going to be tough because of the fact that I've got these things glued to my back, and there's certain restrictions, things that you couldn't do if you know what I mean. And so I made a decision just to be positive and not complain about it, because what's the point? And I just learned a very important lesson in life about the power of positivity, that, you know, I imagine like positivity and negativity like drops that go into a still pond. You know, you drop in the center and that ripples out and has an effect, and you know, that's where I learned that, you know, the power of positivity, and it gets you a lot further than, you know, grumbling and complaining. Thank you for the question.
Thank you.
Hi.
Hey, all right.
You were talking about Leonard Nimoy earlier, and obviously Zachary had the opportunity to talk to him before playing Spock, and obviously you did not have the opportunity to talk with the great DeForest Kelley. But if you had that opportunity to sit down with him and ask him about, you know, what would you have wanted to learn from him about Dr. McCoy?
Oh my gosh, that's a fantastic question. I'd love to know what Dr. McCoy got paid. Star Trek, you know, his Federation salary. seriously, that was a joke. Seriously, great question. I just would love to pick his brains about, his experience of working on, Trek for 40-odd years. And, I had such respect for him that he came into that show, and through the strength of his work and chemistry with Mr. Shatner and Mr. Nimoy, he was elevated to, a third billing status, and that sort of triumvirate was the core of that television show. And, I remember, reading that, Gene Roddenberry had written those characters basically as a sort of a fractured representation of Kirk's mind. Because the challenge was, how do I externalize the internal dilemma that is going on inside of Kirk at any given time? And so, obviously, he gave, the compassion and heart to aspect of the argument to Bones, and then he gave the sort of cold hard logic and science of it to Spock, and then they would often debate, those aesthetics with Kirk, and then he would be, the leader in charge and make the decisions. As I said, yeah, he really had some wonderful material to work with, and I hope on a forward-going basis that we get to see a bit more of that dynamic, that triumvirate. I think it will add a huge strength to the current iteration.
We've done a great job with it. We can't wait to see it.
Thank you very much.
And then I changed my mind.
You're allowed to do that.
This is my first con, me and my mom. So it's Mother's Day today, and I would like you to say Happy Mother's Day to my mom, Christine, and all the rest of the moms here. I think they would really like that. So.
Sure. Hey Christine, my name's Karl, and I just want to wish you a happy Mother's Day, and yo to all the other mothers.
So you've been a part of some incredible ensemble films, Lord of the Rings, the Star Trek series, and you were the guy with the cute hair in red. I was just wondering, with that many personalities in one set, especially with the rigors of filming and everything, if you could kind of clue us into maybe some behind-the-scenes hijinks going on, or I know you've spoken previously about between you and Viggo Mortensen kind of going back and forth with Lord of the Rings. Just if there's anything going on with maybe some of the other films, just behind the scenes.
Yeah, well, I had a fantastic time working on Red. Bruce and I had a thing where we would, he had on his trailer, he had like a fake name, and every day he asked the ADs to change the name. So I started coming up with some suggestions. I think my first one was Mr. Dom T. Pinas. He loved that. He did not like Dr. Kid E. Fiddler. And I totally understand. Across the line there. But yeah, I certainly, when I worked on Comanche Moon, Val Kilmer got me really. He put it was obviously at one point a live rattlesnake that had been embalmed and then put into attack mode with its fangs out. And I opened my trailer door and there it was, literally a dead man. I just screamed like a little girl. I never got it back yet. Yeah, it's it's fun to be able to work with people who have such great sense of humor, and that you can laugh, and I believe that it really adds, and this is one thing about Star Trek, is that kind of that atmosphere and that camaraderie. I think that comes through on in the film. So thank you for your question. Thank you.
My name's Rafael. Eric kind of stole my thunder because I was going to wish a happy Mother's Day to my mom.
Sure, this is
Yeah, her name's Sean.
Sean.
Sean Goldblatt. She lives in Las Vegas, and we're both big Star Trek fans.
Oh,
So.
really? Okay. Are you rolling? Hey, Sean, this is Karl. I just want to wish you a very happy Mother's Day. Thank you very much.
I was wondering, which of the Bose characters do you think is better, because Kelly's or yours?
Well, I'll tell you why. I think his is better, and I'll tell you why. He got great material. He's a great actor. And as I said before, I mean, what I loved about what his Dr. McCoy was able to do was he was really like a consigliere to Kirk, and he was also like a psychologist to him. And you know, he had this sort of a stubborn depth of maturity that he wasn't afraid of. You know, Kirk's, because not what the younger version is, but you know, he would stand up to him and tell him exactly what he thinks. And you know, I would certainly love the opportunity to play, you know, some of those kind of qualities on a forward-going basis. You know, you really got to see that friendship, and I feel that if anything, currently in the last two films, I feel like perhaps you know, that friendship is a little bit more inferred than actually fully seen and realized on the screen. So, you know, I'm really looking forward to the next film and to see the development of that. And you know, it's certainly one of the things that came out of the last movie that people want to see more of, and you know, I'm sure that the council will listen. Thank you.
Love you.
Hey, how are you?
Good, good. First, I'd like to say that Pathfinder is a highly underrated movie. You should go buy it so you can get an extra $1.
Appreciate that.
And with all the stuff you've done with Star Trek and Riddick and what other things, are there any other big franchises you'd like to get involved with?
I think it'd be pretty greedy to want more. Yes. No, I can't think of anything off the top of my head that, you know, I just feel kind of very blessed to, you know, be in the position where I do get to work with these amazing people, you know, the likes of JJ and many others. So, you know, I don't know. I'll just, we'll see. I'm planning to go anywhere, so you know, I might turn up in something else that I think is. I wouldn't mind doing a Star Wars film. I wouldn't mind that. But I just don't think it could be like hyper recognizable because I think that would, if anything, potentially take the audience out of the picture. But yeah, we'll see. Thank you. Hey, how are you?
I was wondering what advice you would give a 14-year-old girl who is a makeup artist and hopefully actress one day. What would be some of the most important things to focus on to be successful in business?
Oh, that's a fantastic question. Yeah, when I told my dad, I've said this before, when I told my dad that I was going to be an actor, he said, "No, son, you pronounce it wrong, it's doctor." Doctor now. You just don't want to have a medical emergency plane and say, "Is there a doctor on board?" And you know, I'll go, "Yeah." Oh yeah, I can bring people back from death. Some doctor. But yeah, you know, seriously, the advice that I would give, invest in yourself, invest in your craft. I think of it like a boxer. A boxer doesn't come out of the corner of his ring as the first time he's thrown a punch. He's trained. He's trained for months and months for that fight. And you know, I think it's the same no matter what vocation you choose. The more you put into it, the more you're going to get out. And you have to be, to a certain extent, you have to be obstinate and stubborn. You have to really want it, and you have to go for it. And you have to study. You know, you have to make, you have to constantly learn, I think, and evolve and improve your skill set. The more skills you have, the better equipped you are going to be to handle any opportunity that comes up. And so that means even if you have to work for free in the beginning, you know, all that small time experience is going to lead to big time ability. So my advice would just go for it.
Hello, nice to meet you.
Hey.
How was it working on such a massive movie like Lord of the Rings?
Oh, it's so boring. It was incredible. It really was. In the car on the way today, I was talking with Casey, and we were talking about Lord of the Rings, and I remembered something quite fondly of shooting the scene where Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli is surrounded by Aemma and his horses, and Peter Jackson kind of paid me this really cool compliment. We shot it a couple of times, and then we went back into where the monitors were. It was Viggo Mortensen and myself and all that room. And he said, turned around and looked at me, okay, we're on the verge of greatness. Which I love. We're not attaining greatness, we're on the verge. And just his, I guess, just his entire sort of ability and demeanor to really give valid, specific direction to, you know, he's one of those rare directors I've worked with who have complete command and power of their abilities and the knowledge to implement it, and they can look at a scene and see what it needs and give you very specific direction as to what to do or what not to do. In JJ's case, he's very good. You can go to him and say, you know, okay, in the scene, you know, I feel like the character is speaking in metaphors, like every line is a metaphor. We should cut one out so it's not so much. But his response to that is, oh my God, that's genius. So his response to that was to give a line to Kirk saying, would you stop speaking in metaphors? So he points it out. And by doing so, he makes it funny, and he turns what could be potentially an Achilles heel scene into a strength. And that's a very rare and unique commodity. And I really think that, you know, JJ and Peter, you know, are cut off the same cloth. I cannot wait to see what he does with Star Wars.
Oh.
Ladies and gentlemen, he's the only panelist who gave a shout out to all the mothers in the